initiate you into the fraternity of individuals who are concerned about some of the issues that we are dealing with. But during this first part of the program, Ms. Johnson, let's have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences, and Pastor Walker will do the same, and then we'll be out of this first segment. But let's talk about Sparkles Johnson for a while.
Yes, sir. So I grew up here in North Nashville. I went to North Nashville Zone Schools. I graduated, however, from Hillsborough High in 2003. I'm a mother of five, four biologically. I come from a big family. I have 9 siblings. I'm the oldest. And my children ages are 4, 5, 6, 14, and 16. I now am a nonprofit advocate for domestic violence. The name of my nonprofit is Super Women, Inc. I also, above doing advocacy work and nonprofit work, I also reach out locally and personally and support victims, domestic violence victims of today. I was in a domestic violence relationship for 6 years, and I've been a survivor now for 3 years.
Very good. And so, Pastor Walker, we've talked on this show about domestic violence from many perspectives. And I think that our audience is familiar with many of the things that we've said in reference to that. But let's sort of, over the next couple of minutes, instead of just simply introducing you, and I think that most of our audience know you, let's talk about this issue of domestic violence, why it's important this morning, and why you brought Ms. Johnson with you this morning.
Okay, well, Dr. Haney, first of all, I'm glad to be here today, just to share information again about, important information, topics that, a lot of times people maybe gloss over and don't understand it and stuff like that. And a lot of situations, they're critical of individuals that may be, I would use the word trapped in a domestic violence type of situation. And without that proper understanding and education about it, it's easy, I guess, for somebody to make the missed calls when it concerns an individual like that, or things like why you just don't walk away and that kind of stuff like that, and it's just, I don't think it's just that simple, Then of course, in my younger days, myself, I was abusive myself in my younger days and stuff like that, I came up, I saw that kind of stuff, and it seemed like it was okay. Of course, when you do it, it's not, but it's still, it's the mindset that you had. And plus, I was young at the time and stuff, but of course, over the years, my life has definitely evolved from that many years ago. And I'm just, I'm glad to be here with Ms. Sparkle Johnson because, I heard her testimony, I heard her talk on a radio program, and I'm like, man, we need to get her on the show so that she can share it because, she laid it out there, in a way that we could all understand it, and, it's her show, We do have one thing in common, Ms. Johnson. You graduated from the high school that I got put out of.
Very good. And of course, what we'll do, we've got about a minute before our second commercial break, Ms. Johnson. But what we'll do, we'll give you an opportunity. When we come back, we'll have 8 minutes. And we'll give you an opportunity to give to us this morning by way of television the information that Pastor Walker said that you gave over the radio. And I think that he was so impressed with what you had to say in reference to that. Then I think that we will also be more impressed because we are now on what? Television.
That's right.
And you can indeed reach many more people. And so what we'll do, we'll take our first commercial break. And when we come back, we'll allow you the opportunity to start off that 8-minute segment and to talk about domestic violence from your perspective. And after that, Pastor Walker will sort of wrap that segment up, and then we'll come back to this final segment and talk about some of the many issues that are related to this issue of domestic violence. Of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very short commercial break. And Pastor, after she gets through telling what she has to say, then we'll let you wrap that segment up, and then we'll get back into that 10-minute segment.
Sounds good. So how long you have your nonprofit going?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. So we spent the first year kind of building and getting ready. Last
Right.
year was the first year we actually put it out there. and
Okay.
started being active. And this year we are hitting the ground running.
Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, talk about the kind of services that you offer. Yes, I work at the room in the inn, in the homeless shelter. I always see women come in those situations a lot.
Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ms. Sparkle Johnson and Pastor KWalker, and Ms. Johnson has given us some information in reference to some of the issues associated with domestic violence and how you might be able to overcome domestic violence. And so let's look at it from that perspective, Ms. Johnson, and give you an opportunity to tell our audience this morning anything you wish to say in reference to this topic, and then Pastor Walker will sort of wind us down for the end of this 8-minute segment. But it's up to you now.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So a little bit about my domestic violence relationship. We have 3 children together, and it started when I was 9 months pregnant with my first daughter. The first thing I would like to share with people, know who you're dealing with. I didn't know this man. I met him, and 2 months later, I was pregnant by him. So he smacked me to the ground for no reason at all, so I thought. And I later found out because as I was walking him to the door, he was leaving, and I was just going to lock the door behind him. His friends was waiting for him in the car. He said that he saw me looking inside the car at his friends, which is why I got hit at 9 months pregnant. So throughout the course, I just want to give a little bit of background. I tried to figure out how to leave, and should I leave, should I stay, because I loved him so much, and I tried to blame everybody else. You know, he's a victim of circumstance. He don't know how to deal with a good woman, all that craziness. But my children were witnessing all this. And the last attack was on Christmas night, 2015. And I came home. We were actually split up. And I thought everything was okay. I came home. He was in my home in the dark. And he attacked me for 3 days. He beat me. He actually beat me with a belt until it broke, calling me his slave. He raped me. And he wrote expletives on my forehead. And he videotaped it all. You know, stripped me out of my clothes, cut my hair. In random places, not like a style, stumping me in my head, and even forced me to put a gun in my mouth. Then he forced me into a game of Russian roulette. The gun was a .38 revolver. He put 1 bullet in, and he would spin it and pull the trigger. And every time it didn't shoot, he would just jump up, woohoo, you are lucky, you know, B word. And I remember laying on the floor as he was thumping my head. And he's a big guy. He's about 6'1", 243, 250 pounds. And he was thumping me on my head with his shoes. And it wasn't even hurting anymore physically. And so I thought I was going to die. And so the only thing I could say was, Lord, please don't let my children see me dead. Because they were in the very next room. This went on for 3 days. He would fall asleep, wake up, start over. I would doze off and wake up to getting smacked. So I was just like, Lord, don't let my children find me dead.
So that happened to you for 3 days.
Yes.
In your own home.
Yes.
With your children.
In the very next room.
In the next room.
Mm-hmm.
And Pastor Walker, what do you say about that? I mean that's so extraordinary. Mm-hmm. That's hard to believe.
Well, when I said, earlier, that there were early years of my life as a teen back in those years, I've been abusive, man, nowhere close to anything like that. That's a wicked,
That's sadistic.
depraved
Yeah,
mindset right there, you know, to be able to do some things like that, the things that she just described in terms of treating an individual that way. Then you look at it, man, you try to figure why would somebody do that, you know. And one thing I tell men a lot of times now is that one of our biggest issues is that we don't understand that crying will free us. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is through our insecurities, a lot of times and through our pain, you know, or being detached or losing that individual, that woman, you know, we want to, instead of dealing with our own pain, crying it out, you know, you cry when you was a little boy, you know, why not cry as a man, you know, cry it out, you know, and not, you know, the desire is to share the pain. That's what it is. Okay, I'm hurting, you know, so I'm going to share this pain with you and I'm going to make you hurt too. But the only thing is, I'm going to make you hurt worse than I hurt, you know. So, you know, you find people in a situation like that just having pain, the inward pain of that individual being afflicted upon them. And there's no excuse for it, you know, there's no justification for it. And just like you were saying, you know, the things that you said to yourself, you know, to stay connected, you know, I love him and these type of things, you know. I guess a lot of people don't understand that, you know.
But just mere survival. For 3 days, you were under that kind of duress, and that. Did you ever think about perhaps trying to? Wouldn't have an opportunity to call the police or somebody else, or what? I mean, you just.
Well, he took my phone, but at one point he left, and I was aching really bad. But my children at the time was 1, 2, and 3, and I told my 3-year-old to get her coat on. And I grabbed the 2 babies, and I didn't take any clothes or anything, but we had a trash bag full of Christmas items, because it happened on Christmas night, that we got from family and friends, and I was just gonna take that. And on the way out the door, he came back. And that was a whole nother fight. And that's when he put me in the car. He called one of his friends who I did not know. The only thing I knew about him, he was just out of jail, and made him stay there with my children. And he put me in the car with him to go take care of his business. He was a drug dealer. And put me in the car. He was speeding and was like, if I get a phone call that the police come up there, he was like, I'm pushing you out this car. And so he just kept doing that stuff. But I eventually got out the next day. He wanted to say he was sorry. However, we laid down. He wouldn't let me leave his sight. We laid down, and he was watching like a marathon of the TV show Snap. And so that was really freaky to me. I was like, this is not over. So I convinced him. I was like, the kids have to go to daycare. I said, well, they're gonna send DCS to investigate why they're not in school. That's not true, because they're in daycare, but I wanted to get them out. So he told me to take them to school. I did. And I went and hid downtown in a secluded place, and I called the police and told them to come and meet me and what had been happening.
And so you finally called the authorities on him, and
As soon as I got a chance to get away.
well, now what happened in reference to that? I mean, is he still on the streets? Or
No, he is now serving a 20-year sentence in prison.
I'm sorry to hear that, but that's as a result of that kind of act. Certainly, you probably were not the only person that he became involved with, or that he had an opportunity to wield his power over. I'm almost
Oh,
sure
no,
of that.
I was actually, to my knowledge, I was the 3rd or 4th.
Okay, so and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.